Hi everyone, this is Bacho and I'm with Miss Andrino, and we were tasked to do a report about the psychosocial theory by Dr. Erik Erikson. So before we get into details, what was his theory all about? Let's get to know first about Dr. Erik Erikson. So Dr. Erik Erikson was an American psychoanalyst and was born last June 15, 1902 in Frankfurt am Main, Germany. Died in May 12, 1994 in Harwich, Massachusetts in Germany as well. He was a psychoanalyst whose writings was focused on psychology, individual identity, and the interactions of psychology with history, politics, and culture influenced professional approaches to psychosocial problems and attracted much popular interest. So now, since we already have the idea on who was the proponent of this theory, let's now focus onto what was his theory all about. So Dr. Erik Erikson's theory is called the psychosocial theory, which was derived from the two source words, namely psychological, which relates to mind, brain, and personality, and the other one is social, which refers to external relationships. So let's focus and get to know about this. So this theory was largely influenced by Sigmund Freud, but Dr. Erikson extended the theory and he incorporated with cultural and social aspects into Freud's biological and sexually oriented theory. So it's a simple and well-designed theory by Dr. Erik Erikson, and there were various terms that were used to describe. So, as what mentioned earlier, there were various models were termed for this theory. So, the epigenetic principle, as Bohr explains, this principle says that we develop through a predetermined unfolding of our personalities in 8 stages, just like the theory of Dr. Sigmund Freud. So each stages involve a psychosocial crisis of 2 opposing emotional forces. A helpful term used for those opposing forces.
Hello once again, I am Andrino, and this is the continuation of the report all about the psychosocial theory of Mr. Erik Erikson. So, Erikson's theory suggests that your ego identity develops throughout your entire life during 8 specific stages. So the first stage is infancy. During this stage, development centers around trust and mistrust. This stage begins at birth and usually lasts until a baby is 18 months old. When your baby is born, they're learning about the world around them. They're completely dependent on you for care. When your baby cries or fusses and you meet their needs by holding, feeding, and caring for them, you build trust. Over time, your baby learns that they can trust others caregivers too. When babies are neglected or their needs aren't met, they develop mistrust. If trust isn't established at this stage of development, it is more difficult to establish later in life. They may feel a sense of hopelessness when faced with crisis. In stage 2, toddlerhood. During this stage, which begins at 18 months old and lasts until 2 or 3 years old. So, your toddler's development focuses on the autonomy versus shame or doubt. Now, your toddler's learning how to do things for themselves. By giving praise, you help them establish a foundation for self-belief and autonomy. If you discourage your toddler or don't allow them to work independently, they may feel discouraged, ashamed, and doubtful of their abilities. In stage 3 is preschool. So development at this stage centers around initiative and guilt. This stage begins at the age of 3 and lasts until the age of 5. Here, your child focuses on doing things independently and begins to develop a sense of aims and goals. When they feel encouraged, these children take the initiative to do things independently. They feel a sense of purpose in their life. If they are criticized or discouraged by the caregivers, they feel guilty instead. So, in the stage 4, early school years. Here, development centers around industry and inferiority. This stage begins as the age of 6, lasts till the age of 11. So during this stage, your child is becoming aware of their individuality. They see accomplishments in school and sports and seek praise and support from those around them. If teachers, caregivers, and peers offer support and a sense of accomplishment, they feel competent and productive. If they don't receive positive reinforcement for their accomplishments, they feel inferior or incompetent. Stage 5 focuses on adolescence. So at this stage, development centers around the identity and role confusion. So this stage begins at around age of 12 and lasts till age 18. When you hear the psychological term identity crisis, it comes from the stage of development. During adolescence, you're trying to figure out who you are and establish goals and priorities for your adult life. You're establishing your place in the world. If young people are overwhelmed by the expectation and responsibilities at this stage, they may not be able to establish their identity. This leads to confusion about what their needs and goals are. Stage 6 also focuses on the young adulthood. So, at this stage, intimacy and isolation are focus of development. This stage begins at the age of 19 and lasts until the age of 40. During this time in your life, you are establishing and building upon relationships. So if you have meaningful relationship with friends and family, you experience intimacy with others. If you struggle with relationship, you may feel isolated and lonely. Stage 7 focuses on the middle adulthood. The development in this stage is around generativity and stagnation, or self-abortion. This stage begins at the age of 40 and lasts till the age of 65. So when you feel a sense of care and responsibility, it's called generativity. You look out for those around you and feel to need to pass along what you've learned to younger generations. But if you don't act as a mentor in some capacity, you may feel bitter and unhappy. This leads to restlessness and isolation from your friends, family, and society. Stage 8 is late adulthood. The final stage of the developmental process proposed by Erikson centers around ego, integrity, and despair. This stage begins at the age of 65 and lasts throughout the rest of your life. If you are satisfied with your life, you age with grace. You often feel pride in what you've accomplished and what to demonstrate your wisdom to others. If you don't feel a sense of accomplishment when you look back on your life, you may fall into despair. When that happens, you tend to focus more on regrets. Thank you very much for your cooperation in listening this discussion all about the psychosocial theory of human development proposed by Mr. Erik Erikson. Hope you understand something about this report. Thank you and God bless.